Hello everyone, let's try this again and see if we can get the audio to work this time. I am going to walk you through how to generate your tables and graphs that you need to put into your lab reports. So I already have input data here into an Excel sheet. What I want you to notice really quickly is a couple things. First, I have labeled the bottom of my Excel sheet so that if I have to go back later, I will be able to easily find which data is which. If you don't do that, you're just making your life a little bit harder. Another thing is I have gone through and looked at the data and made a bit of a common sense judgment, okay? So here I have all of my time points and I have all of my temperature readings. And you'll see that the temperature actually goes up from one to the other. That, of course, is not actually going to happen. So you can see that I have actually crossed out some data because I know the data is not good data. The same thing I did here, I crossed out some data because I know it's not good. In the future, if you take a statistics class, you will learn statistical tests you can do to allow you to do that, but for this class, we're just going to use the test of common sense. In order to cross out that data, what I do is I highlight the cells and I click this button, the strike through button, to put a line through it. Now, if you have bad data, you're going to need to copy, paste that data below again and remove the bad data, okay? So you can copy paste by highlighting the data, clicking Control C, and then clicking where you want to paste it, and Control V. That will copy paste the data, and then you'll just delete any of the bad data. Now, once you have a table of your good data, you're going to highlight that table, and I will show you how to generate a graph using this data. Now you don't want to make a graph using bad data, because then your equation that you're going to get is going to be a bad equation, because it will not be describing reality. So what you're going to want to do is click Insert after you highlight your data and click Chart. That's going to automatically paste some type of chart or graph or something into your document. From there, you're going to go to Setup and click Chart Type, and you're going to change the chart type to Scatter. So you're going to click that and you're going to see it change it to dots. Okay, and then you might have the same problem that I have right here, where it accidentally plots my time as points on the graph. And that's not what I want. I want my time to be my x-axis. So you're going to scroll down where it says x-axis, you're going to click it and tell it to be time. And then down here where it says series, this is what it's graphing on the graph. You do not want it to graph time. So I'm going to remove time. We're not quite done yet. We're going to go to Customize, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my chart title to something that means a little bit more than what Excel came up with originally. So I'm going to type hot water in a styrofoam cup. It looks a little better if you capitalize each word. Then I am going to add titles to my axis, my x-axis and my y-axis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click where it says chart title, and I'm going to click horizontal axis title. That's my x-axis. And I'm going to tell it that I want it to say that this is time in minutes. I also would like to click vertical axis title, and here I will say this is temperature in Celsius. Make sure you include your units. From there, you're going to scroll down and click Series. Just keep scrolling until you see trend line. This, when you click on it, is going to run a trend line or a regression through your data. And you can see here you can change the type of function you use. Before I do that, I'm actually going to ask it to show me my r² value in the equation so I can make a determination. I can decide whether or not it's a good function or a good regression, a good model of my data. The way I do that is I look at my r² and I think, and I'm looking for something that has a value as close to 1 as possible. So I can see here that linear is 0.797. I'm going to check exponential. Oh, and it gives me 0.8, so I know that this is the equation I'm going to want to use. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my lab. I'm going to put your name in the name box. And then where it says hot water in a styrofoam cup, you're going to copy paste your table that includes the bad data crossed out. That shows me that you haven't just forgotten about the data. You didn't just not take the data, you took it and you made a conscious decision to exclude it. When you copy paste with Control-C, Control-V, you'll get an option to link to the spreadsheet or not to link it to the spreadsheet. It really does not matter which you choose. Link to spreadsheet just means if you change something on the Excel or on the Google Sheets document, that it will also change it in the Google Docs document. So from here, you might want to change temperature to temp so it'll actually fit inside the box, and you can see my table is there. If you're running into a problem where you have a table that looks like this, where there's just words in one cell but not in the other, you can highlight the two cells if you're in Sheets and click Merge Cells. If it's already over in Google Docs and you get this situation, you can highlight the two cells, right click, and click Merge Cells. Okay, but you're not done yet. You also want to include your graph that you made, so you're going to copy and paste that graph into the document as well. Now remember, you always want to have some type of label on any figure you include in a report. So I'm going to name this the very creative name of Table 1, and then just restate the title. Hot water in a, if I can spell, in a styrofoam cup. It looks better, or standard practice, to bold the table. Now, if you have excluded data for any reason, or if you have borrowed data from somebody, you need to include a note below your table telling me that. Okay, if there's anything unique about your data at all that you can talk about it under the data or under the table. So here I'm going to say crossed out data were excluded. In here you would include normally the statistical test you ran to do that, but since we're not running any statistical tests, we would say were excluded because water will not increase in temperature over time without being heated. Okay, it's just the common sense test of logic and experience in the world. Okay, we also want to label our graph. So you can either call it figure 1 or you can call it graph 1. Again, the title is hot water in a styrofoam cup. And then I want to know which data were included in my graph. So I am going to talk about that. Crossed out data from table 1 were excluded in this graph. You can say anything that's close to that, anything that means the same thing. If you borrow data, remember you need to include who you got it from, when they took the data, when you got the data from them, etc., etc., etc. Okay? And you're going to repeat that process for every single experiment that you ran. There were 5 total. That is part 1 of the post lab.